So, as you all may recall, I am talking about the 12 powers this year. And as described as in Charles Fillmore, first he called them the 12 powers of man, and then I think he switched it over to the 12 powers of Christ, because it is the Christ within us that we're activating. So, we all have been given all of these gifts. I'm sorry. Bob, I didn't do it right. I got it now. We all have been given these gifts innately, but unless and until we learn how to use them and how to activate them, they're not going to do us much good. So my talk title today, as Reverend Bob mentioned, is Samson's Strength. Now, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary of Samson is this: physical strength under spiritual discipline, or the consciousness of spiritual strength. Okay, so we're going to come back to him in a moment. But if you recall, last month I talked about the power of faith and how we all have faith in many things. You know, a lot of us say, well, I don't have much faith. We do. We have faith that the sun will rise in the morning and that people on the road, for the most part, will keep to their side of the road. A lot of things. But the point is, when our faith is based in God is our source, amazing things happen in our lives. So today, given my talk title is Samson's Strength, strength is the power that I will be talking about. Now, Peter, whose name means the rock, is is associated with faith that we talked about last month in the middle of the brain. His brother Andrew, which means strong man, is the one that we associate with strength. So brothers, faith and strength work together very much. Because wherever you put your faith, that is where the strength of your power is going to go to. The mind power of strength is located not in my mouth, located in the lower back, in the adrenal glands, which is above, behind, right near the kidneys, okay? And the adrenals are glands of combat. So when we're angry, when we're in danger, when we're in fear, the adrenals release adrenaline that pumps throughout the whole body. So, but when we use it as a spiritual power, it releases spiritual strength, spiritual healing energy to the entire body. So even though it's focused in, the main entry point is in the lower back, when activated, it spreads throughout the whole body and will be used by anything that you need it to be used for. So strength is threefold, okay? On the physical plane, strength is the power of energy and freedom from weakness in the body. Being strong, being a strong person. On the mental plane, strength is the ability to achieve, lead, or be an expert in one's field of work. On the spiritual plane, strength is steadfastness in the belief in good, refusing to settle for anything but the best in life, calling all things good, no matter what it may show up as. Okay, fear and faith use the same power. Fear and faith use the same power. So if you're praying for strength, but you're so afraid that you're not going to be able to get what you want, that fear is going to overpower the strength. So it's really important not to let thoughts of weakness enter into your consciousness. Now, we all have them, they come and they go, but if we focus on them, that's when I don't want to say danger, but where you can disempower yourself, okay? So when these thoughts of weakness or fear or anger come in your mind, ignore them. Ignore them and affirm that you are a tower of strength within and without. So if I called on the power of strength in me when I'm in a dealings with you, within 30 minutes, you will be reacting to me differently because I will be radiating out a different energy. That's how powerful these innate abilities that we have, and how when we use them affect everything. So those things in ourselves that we consider human weaknesses, when transmuted by spiritual energy, they become mighty strengths for us. We all tend to want to look at the human weaknesses that we have, but those are the very things that can be changed for good. So let's talk a little bit more about Samson. Now, there's some similarities between him and John the Baptist in a couple of areas. When his mother, Samson's mother, was trying to get pregnant and didn't, just like John's mother, an angel came to her and told her that she was already pregnant with a son, and she told him his name, and they said to her, do not cut his hair, because that will be his power, and he will be instrumental in at that time, the Israelites were under the rule of the Philistines. This obviously is the Old Testament. So, and the angel foretold that he would be instrumental in that. So as he grew, of course, his hair was growing longer. He was very, very strong. He was a good man. But like all of us that can get led away by human tendencies, whenever he veered off, he wasn't quite as powerful. But the Philistines recognized him as someone, he would slay 30 Philistines at a time. And so they were afraid of him. And as he got older, I don't even know the age, he took up with Delilah. I guess he married Delilah, who was a Philistine. And so the people in her tribe went to her and said, you need to find out his strength. You need to find out what his secret is so that we can take care of this. So 3 different times she asked Samson, and he lied about it. He said it was this or that or the other. And they finally said, you've got to find this out. We're going to pay you a lot of money to find this. So one day she asked him again, and he finally gave in because he loved her and because, all of that stuff, how it goes. So that night when he fell asleep on her lap, guess what? She shaved his head. And they came in, the Philistines came in and arrested him, and he was powerless because he went against what he knew was right, and his power was taken away through his hair. So the Philistines then took him and they bound him up and they seared his eyes out. He became blind, and he became a mockery. Everywhere they took him, he was mocked. So I don't know how long this took, but they were going to take him to this big arena with a concrete top where all the Philistines were going to be. And he said to God, this is from Judges 16:28. Then Samson called on the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me this only once, O God, that I may be avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. So what he did is he asked them to let him hold on to the pillars so he wouldn't fall because he couldn't see. And once everyone gathered, he pulled the pillars down because his hair had started to grow back, and he was given his strength back, killed all of them, including himself. So that was Samson's story. So strength, as you can hear from this, can be used for good or for bad. And when you use strength, as shown with him, without asking for spiritual guidance, without using it the way that God intended you to use it, disaster can occur. Samson paid dearly for putting his faith in humanity, in his humanness, rather than in God. And yet, when Samson turned back to God, he was given his power back, and good came out of it. So let's look at how we may or may not be using our own strength. Reverend Chris Chenoweth, he came and spoke at our church a number of years ago, Unity minister as well as a well-known international motivational speaker, tells this story in one of the classes out at Unity Village where he went and visited a circus training camp in Wisconsin. And he was fascinated by how they were training these elephants. These were huge, massive, powerful animals that could literally knock down the walls in this room if he wanted to. They were just massive and enormous. And what they did to train them, is they took these big abrasive braces and put them on his leg, and then they took and chained his leg to a tree. And so when he tried to get away, pulled on the brace, it hurt his leg and wounded his leg. His leg got raw and it hurt. And he tried and he tried and he tried for about 45 minutes. But every time he did, he looked down and his leg hurt and he could see that he had limitations, so he stopped. After 45 minutes, he stopped pulling. Now the truth is, he could have pulled the tree out of the root, but he saw his limitation, he felt the pain, and so he stopped. So the next morning he wakes up after standing there all night, and he was a little more refreshed, so he started pulling again, just a couple of times then, and he gave up, and he said, Chris is very animated. Why try? It hurts. It hurts, and if I stop, I get rewarded by no pain. So 2 weeks later, they took the chain off. He still had the brace on. They could walk him around, but when they brought him back to the tree, he didn't move, even though the chain was gone. And it still hurt him if he moved around. But after a while, I think after one more week, they took the brace off. And he never went anywhere unless he was led. He had seen his limitations. He knew it would hurt, so he didn't move. That's how they trained elephants. So we too can look at our lives and look back and say, yeah, I have limitations. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm just not good in this. And these limitations may have come from teachers, parents, adults saying, you're not good in math. You're not good in science. You're just a girl, or you're just this or that. And we believe them. And we start limiting our even trying to do things because we can't do that. We've tried 2 or 3, 4, 5 times, maybe 45 minutes like the elephant, and we give up, right? We can't do it. We tried. But what we have to know is that this muscle that we call strength in our body is something that has to be used, something that we have to train it and exercise it over and over. We can't just give up when it doesn't work the first or second or third time. We need to pray always about getting our strength. And we'll talk about how to talk to our actual powers. Chris actually talked about as well that we need to pray about everything. Some people say, well, I'm going to save my prayers for the big things because God's busy. Well, I think we in Unity know that's not what God is like. But we might have a little bit of those old beliefs hanging around. Pray about everything all the time. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Look at Philippians 4, 6-7. Do not worry over things, But always by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. Pray always. Do not accept limitations. Now, if this is news to you and you see your life is limited, well, after all these years, I can't do this, and, here's this, I can't do that. Those are facts. They're not the truth of who we are. You can start exercising this muscle we call strength and calling on it to help us do things that perhaps we didn't think we could do, even in our own physical bodies. And we need to be patient, because we may have limited ourselves a long time ago, and our bodies will respond. Our bodies respond to our thoughts and our words and our actions more than anything else. And the one thing that can limit us the most is our self-criticism. When we criticize ourselves, we might say something to ourselves like, "Oh, you dummy, why did you do that? What would ever make you think that would work?" Even if you're half kidding, you can talk bad about yourself because, "Oh, I'm just kidding." Your body hears it. Your body responds immediately. Paul and I were watching this video yesterday, and he said, and I think he got it from scientific facts, that we generate 500 million new cells every day. Every day. And as we talk to these new cells, he talked about when you wake up in the morning and say, "Thank you for my new cells." We were doing that this morning. We're kind of chuckling about it. New cells that are generated that can do things that maybe the other cells we've already said to, or we believed what somebody told us, couldn't do. Be steadfast. That's one of the things about strength, is about persisting, being steadfast, not giving up. So if you want to make some changes in your life, maybe just start out with one. You've got to decide, this is what I want, and then have a plan about how to go about getting it. I have some steps at the end you can use if you care to. Remember, I talked last month about Charles Fillmore. At 71 years of age, decided to grow his mangled leg up to be the regular size, and he did it, starting it at 71. They said that when he was in his 90s, he had more energy than he did in his 60s, that he was more robust. He has even lost some wrinkles. I'm working on that part of it. But truly, and his energy level was amazing. That blessing that we do in January about zeal, that's from him. He wrote it at 94 years old. So we can make changes in our lives. They may be small changes. That may be all that we want. But if we want changes, we can do this. So you must constantly see yourself where you want to be. Now, Charles Fillmore used affirmations a lot. And he didn't use just like one or two or three. He used pages of affirmations that he went through and worked with every single day. Okay? He also used what he called minute meditations. Besides his main prayer time, whatever it was in the morning or at night, I don't know. I think it was at night. He would take a minute during the day, many times during a day, and just stop. And he said, I could do it with my eyes open or I could do it with my eyes closed, and just feel the presence of God. Look at the beauty, the glory of life. Be grateful. Be thankful all throughout your day. And you have to be determined to make changes. Nothing's going to happen unless we're determined. I've used the example of playing the guitar. You guys didn't pick it up one day and say, oh, I can play the guitar. No, it took years. They've been playing for years. And they're really good, don't you think? Yeah. So, Myrtle, her healing took 2 years. And she persisted and persisted and persisted and said, what were her words about her body? I'll use my own words. I didn't get upset when my body was slow to respond, because she was in her 40s when she started. So she'd been telling herself things for over 40 years. So she worked with her body on a regular basis. Now, affirmations, as we've been told over and over again, but I want to remind you, they're not about pounding something into our head, changing our thoughts. It's about bringing out that which is already there within us, retraining our thinking, perhaps, but bringing the truth of who we are out from within. It's not about brainwashing. So you get to ask, are you okay with where you are? If you are, that's fine. If you're not, there are some things you can do to change it, and it takes spiritual strength to overcome our human weakness. So I guess I'm a little bit stuck on the Old Testament because they have some great examples of strength. The overcoming of Goliath by David illustrated the mastery of the spiritual over the material. As you remember, Goliath had armor and was huge. He was a huge, well, they called him a giant, a huge man. And his physical stature and the armor and all represent the human protective power that we have, of the outer world that we have. David, who trusted in his spiritual strength, remember, he was just a kid, like 12, but he had already had a lot of spiritual experiences. He had no armor or material protection. With his trust in the divine power, he was imbued, as we all are, with the spiritual strength, and was able to see Goliath's weakness and shatter his forehead with a stone. A stone and a slingshot brought down this huge giant. This incident proves how easy it is to overcome the seemingly strong personal and material conditions when the mind of spirit is brought into action. Don't stone me from that word, easy. Easy, but yet we need to persist and be willing to put in the time. So let's look at 1 Samuel 17:50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. His strength came from within, using the power of strength, the power of tuning in with our God within and asking for strength. There's also a lesson in the Course in Miracles, lesson 47. I'm not going to read it, but the title of it is, God is the strength in which I trust. Now, if you trust in your personal power alone, that human part of us, you have every right to be apprehensive, anxious, and fearful. Because we all know, we've all tried, we've all failed sometimes when we just try to do it all by ourselves. It doesn't work. God is your strength in every circumstance. God is our source of all good in our lives. So briefly, I've got a few steps that I put out. They're out for you to help implement some of these things. First of all, decide what you want. Decide that you want something different in your life. And it could be big and it could be small. It doesn't matter. decide. And then be willing to put in the work to get the result you want to see. Write affirmations and use them daily. I put a few in your bulletin that you can use, but make them your own. Use them. Take the minute meditations like Charles did throughout your day and envision what you want and hold that space. Pray often and not just at your appointed time that we encourage you to take. Have a special time where you spend time in prayer and listening in meditation, but throughout the day, our thoughts are prayers. Just make sure your thoughts are prayers and not words of fear or anger. And if they are, we can dilute them quickly with the spiritual strength we have inside of us. Persist, number 3. Persist even when things look like they're not working out. When things get tough, don't quit. Don't quit. How long are you willing to wait? Well, how long have you lived with what you've had, with what you want to change, with what you want to accomplish? Just hang in there. And then you need to surround yourself with support. Because when I start to falter on some things that I'm working on, I go to Paul, because he's my strength. He's like, nah. And I go to Bob, and I call people. I got my people. You guys got peoples too. All of us, we're connected. Get a team of people around you that you can call that you know are going to support you in your endeavor, not in your fears or your upsets. And it's not going to work. Okay? And know that God is your source of everything you need. Now, there are going to be times that you're not going to get what you want. Okay, we still are in the human condition. We're not totally enlightened beings. We're still here. But we have the strength to manifest a lot of things that we aren't because we've accepted our limitations. We will know if the time comes that we're praying for whatever isn't going to happen. We'll know. And we'll know something better will be in its place. But until then, it's time to persist. Now, I've talked today about how to make some changes in your life. And if you care to, Lent started this week. Ash Wednesday, this is the first Sunday in Lent. A time of release and renewal. What are you ready and willing to release this month, this week, right now, for good? Call on the power of strength within you for help. And we're going to do that during my meditation in just a moment. And the faith to believe that you have within you what you need to accomplish your goal. You are not alone. Besides your human network of people, even if you live alone, you got phone numbers, you got emails, you got texts, call. God is with us always. Call on the Master Jesus. Fillmore talks a lot about studying the ways of Jesus the Christ that lived here 2,000 plus years ago. Study his ways. He will help you. He is there for assistance. And remember, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So now let us take a minute and turn within and spend some time building up this strength power within us. So as you take a deep breath and you close your eyes, take a nice, another deep breath. And feel yourself relaxing. There is one presence and one power in the universe. God, the good, the omnipotent. presence. And we're calling on that presence now. So in your mind's eye, as you're settling into feeling more peaceful, see at the top, the crown of your head opening, and this grace and light of God is coming within to join that Christ light that is already within our bodies. And as it comes into our head, it moves to that midbrain place where faith resides. And we say, the Christ of God is quickened in me now. The Christ of God is quickened in me now. The Christ of God is quickened in me now. And I am aware and receptive of that Christ light moving through me. And I invest that faith in the strength inside of me. So we move our attention now down to that small of our back. Call it the loins, above the kidneys where the adrenals are. And we focus on the energy there, that spiritual energy. And we call forth Andrew, the brother of Peter, who is associated with faith. Andrew, the strong man, the disciple of strength. My lower back is strong. And that energy radiates out throughout our bodies. We move down, our hips are strong. Our legs are filled with the strength of the Christ. Our feet and ankles are strong to hold us upright, to give us balance and strength. And our abdomen, our belly, is strong. It digests everything, words and food, perfectly. Our heart, our beautiful heart, is beating strong with the light of the Christ within. The blood is circulating in our body, pumping rhythmically with the light and strength of God. Our lungs breathe in the air of spirit, filled with the light and love and peace. As our lungs expand in and out, circulates that oxygen throughout our body. We are blessed. We are strong. And anything that is amiss in any of our body organs, tissues, cells are being purified and cleansed as we speak. As these words give strength and light to that spiritual power of strength. Our neck is filled with strength. Our ears can hear with the ears of God. We hear the blessings. We ignore anything else that is not for us to hear, that is not positive, that is not strengthening. Our eyes see with the light of God. They're getting stronger as we age, and we can see better with the strength of God. Our brain, our mind is filled with the glory of God, with the strength of knowing and being and doing the will of God. And we take a moment and let our bodies feel the strength that we have called forth. That strength that is beyond our human age, beyond our human limitations that we may have imposed by accident. Those limitations are gone. We encourage every cell and tissue and muscle and organ to be renewed with the 500 million cells that are coming in each and every day, releasing anything that is harmful to us. We are children of God. We are filled with His glory. We are emanations of God to each and every one we seek and see and speak to and bless in our mind. I am manifesting the Christ presence within me always. And I am grateful, so very grateful. And I say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Amen.